Hi, and welcome along to the Middling Along podcast. My guest on today's episode is Sally Mueller, CEO and co-founder of the Womaness brand. She spent 2 decades of her career working for a brand you might have heard of, Target, helping to build the bullseye from a regional discount retailer to one of the world's most recognised and influential global brands. Welcome along, Sally.
Thanks, Emma. So excited to be here.
So can you tell us sort of the backstory of the Womaness brand? And am I saying it right? Is it
Yes,
Womaness?
you are. You
Like
are saying
lioness. That's what I always have in
yes.
my
I
in my
love that.
mind. Yeah, how did it come to be? Because you launched that with so you have a co-founder,
Yes,
Michelle
Michelle.
Jacobs. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. So both Michelle and I have spent decades building brands for women and working in retail. As you mentioned, I was at Target stores in the marketing area and merchandising for almost 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
And started my own business after I left Target at age 45. And so I'm 58 now. So I've been at my own business for a while. And then Michelle spent an incredible decade at Real Simple, taking Real Simple from a magazine brand into a line of successful product and many other great career changes she made. But everything we did was really centered around building brands for women. And yet, Womaness really came out of our personal stories. So for me, I was in my kind of late 40s,
Mm-hmm.
working a lot, traveling back and forth across the US and even sometimes to the UK, and really feeling exhausted. And I wasn't sure if it was stress. Of course, I blamed it all on work and stress. But what I didn't realize is that, I knew I was going through menopause, but I didn't know menopause was more than hot flashes. I just thought, I don't really have hot flashes, but I am
Right.
waking up with kind of night sweats. I'm not sleeping well. My mood has changed, my libido, so many things were changing. And I really decided at one point I need to do something about this. And it was obviously just annoying. It wasn't life threatening, but I wanted to get on top of it. And I ended up signing up for a physical at the Mayo Clinic, which is only a couple hours from my house, because I live in Minnesota, so the Midwestern part of the Midwest, we call it,
Mm-hmm.
part of the U.S., and spent the day at the Mayo Clinic, all these different appointments, found myself in a really interesting conversation with a female doctor that specialized in menopause. And she really reassured me that what I was experiencing was very common. Women, she said, I see women all day
Mm-hmm.
long with these same issues. And after feeling like I wasn't alone, I did feel like, what have I missed? I'm so uninformed. Thought I was a smart woman. I'm just so clueless. She thought, I should really check out these products that at that point were available on Amazon. So I went home and looked at Amazon and looked up all of her recommendations. And I remember saying to my husband, I am never buying any of these products. And he was so disappointed. He was like, what? You just spent an entire day at the doctor. I thought you were going to come home and be buying these products or just, really trying to get to the solve here.
Yeah.
And I said, I should really disrupt this category. What am I doing? I'm working on all of these other fashion brands for millennials, but I'm not working on creating a brand for women going through menopause, which seems like a huge opportunity. And these products that were on Amazon were just not made with clean formulations. The products looked like they hadn't been touched in decades. The packaging was very outdated and the names were kind of off-putting. And that to me was just like my aha moment. And Michelle and I had been friends for about 15 years. And I told her about my experience and that I really wanted to tackle this space. And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm in. I want to do this with you. And she was seeing all these changes happening with women in her life. They were leaving their corporate jobs.
Yeah.
They were really excited about finally investing in their own well-being or doing something that they've always wanted to do. And we took those kind of 3 pieces of our experience. So for me, the product, the lack of education, And then for Michelle, the need for inspiration to really celebrate this woman. Then we took those three pieces and started thinking about, okay, there's something here. We're going to start really doing research. And that's what we did. We just started, formulating the brand and what it was going to be all about. And women really helped us shape the brand. As we were doing interviews with women, focus groups, we heard a lot about what they wanted. And that really helped shape the brand as it is today.
And who came up with the name?
Oh my gosh, there's a whole story to the name.
I want to
So
know.
we spent a year working on names. And if any of your listeners have ever tried to come up with names for, it could be your podcast, it could be a book, it's
My
so
husband hated the
challenging.
name of my podcast. He told me,
Oh,
don't call
really?
it that. He said, don't call it that. No one will
Funny.
want to listen.
Yeah. Well, it's just so hard to come up with names that actually you love, and that clear legal, because so many names have been taken. And there's been a whole trend in branding for names that are one word. Glossier, just made up names, right? So we started generating a whole list of names. And one by one, we would fall in love with these names and they went clear legal. So what we did is at the end, we had 3 weeks before we were pitching a retailer, a brand. We had to get, we had a packaging concept. We had
It's a hard
everything.
deadline.
Oh my gosh. And we were at a point of desperation. And we ended up, I hired one last guy. It was a guy that actually generated a bunch of names, but he had kind of his methodology that we liked to come up with names. And he had come up with womankind. And we really liked that. But my attorney said, that is never going to pass. It's just it's already out there. It's too generic. Sally, once again, please combine two names. Come up with something unique by combining. And one day I just said, what about Womaness? And Michelle was like, I kind of like that. So that's what started it. I mean, and my attorney was really helpful in doing, obviously that deep, very thorough search. And no, we have the trademark, and it's so exciting. And, we wanted a name that was really a platform so that, it had a lot of legs to it. And what we love about the name is it's almost like a language. Like you said, it's like sexiness, agelessness, lioness. I mean, all of these nest words really emanate from the name Womaness. So we love it. It's like a child, right? Once you birth it.
Yeah, your product branding is quite playful as well. So some of them, for example, the kind of neck product called Let's Neck, which maybe doesn't resonate quite so much in the UK as in the US, but I think we still get it. And a out damned spot is another one.
We wanted, menopause. If you don't add the visuals to it or make it fun, you can hear the word menopause and think it's really a drag. So it's important to really add a little bit of humor. We were at one point worried if our names were so fun that we wouldn't be taken seriously, but women have really loved the names and they're very catchy. And then, of course, we are more serious with the benefits of the product. And, obviously it's product that we formulated ourselves, that we stand behind. We've tested all with doctors, and, the product is serious product, but it's okay to have a little bit of fun with the names.
So that leads me on quite nicely to my next question in terms of, so for example, some of the skincare products in your product line. So for example, if we've been sort of loyally using a particular product or combination of products over time, why is it that this time of life that those might not necessarily be serving us well anymore? What is it about the Womaness stuff that specifically targeting needs for this time of life?
Yeah, so great question, Emma. Your skin changes dramatically in menopause, and perimenopause. For example, my skin used to be very oily, and now during perimenopause, I noticed it was just really becoming dry all over my body. And your skin thins as well. It becomes a little bit more sensitive during menopause. So it's really because of that drop in estrogen and collagen that is much more dramatic. Obviously, as you age, you lose, collagen in your skin, but menopause is really much more of a dramatic change. And it almost happens, for me, I felt like it was happening overnight. I'm sure it was months, but it was really dramatic. And so all of our skincare product is really formulated with more gentle ingredients that are like bakuchiol, which is a form of retinol. We do have retinol in the line, but we have just a spot treatment of retinol. It's called bakuchiol. It's a gentler form of retinol. It's in our overnight magic cream. So that's a great example of just using a gentler ingredient for thinning skin. The other thing that we absolutely need during this stage is more hydration.
Mm-hmm.
And because you're like I said, your skin really dries out all over your body. So we found a company that offered us an advanced form of hyaluronic acid. It's a lab that was just an ingredient lab, and it's called HyaClear 7, and it has like 7 forms of hyaluronic acid. So it's much more potent than just hyaluronic acid, which is still great for your skin. But we put that in all of our skincare. So it's in, our body cream, it's in our overnight cream, it's our Let's Neck, which is our neck and décolleté serum. So
Mm-hmm.
across the board, we put in this ingredient called HyaClear 7.
Supercharged.
Supercharged, and I think it's still exclusive with us, and so it's been really successful. But I think women in this stage of life actually start to kind of tool their skincare regimen at this point. And I think there's so much knowledge that women have about ingredients now. They're a lot more savvy about value. I think, a lot of women say, I don't need to spend, $200 on a serum. So we've really benefited from that savviness because our products are all under 40 US dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And, our belief is that by not only investing in quality and ingredients at active levels, but making sure a product is affordable, we will be able to serve a lot of our goal is to serve all women going through menopause.
And I think one of the other things, having had a really good look around on your website earlier, is I couldn't find any mention of anti-aging, which, I think is great. I think, we are aging. I think, we should be embracing that. And
Right. Yeah. And even just how we portray women, when we first designed the brand, before we did our first photo shoot, we couldn't even find good imagery of women.
Don't get
It
me
was,
started on that. The
I
sad, the
know,
sad
it
people
was
with
so
their head in their
sad.
hands.
Yeah. And it was like, we joke about, the Geritol ads of the woman running on the beach with the straw hat. I mean, we just couldn't find very few images existed. So it's been so fun to find these women all over the world that are participating in our marketing, and whether they're an influential woman that wants to post on our behalf, or real women that featured in our in our campaign. It's just been so fun to show how incredible we all look at this stage of life.
And you've also got an online community on Facebook, the After Party, which I imagine is great for you in terms of being able to kind of get feedback from your audience. But how, if people want to join that, is that they just go look up the After Party on Facebook and ask to join?
Yes, they go onto Facebook, the After Party, and then they request to join, and Ann Goebel on our team will accept them in. And it's just a great way for women to hear from our experts, connect with each other. It's, we definitely advertise a little bit about our products, but it's not really the purpose of the community is to promote products. It's really much more about the education pillar of our brand and the inspiration part, because we really do know women are craving connecting with each other. So that's really the goal of the After Party.
Sure. And talking about connecting, you're on a not a world tour, but a US tour of sorts to kind of celebrate Menopause Awareness Month. You've had one event so far, and you've got a couple more to come. What kind of reception have you had so far?
Yeah, really, really great. We did this last year. We went to New York. We had an event in Minneapolis, and we noticed that women love hearing from experts. They just love, obviously, we call it in real life setting where they can connect with each other. So they walked away from our events last year, much more confident about menopause, not afraid. If they hadn't gone through menopause, they were actually excited about this phase of life. So it was really, really moving to see the impact we made last year. So we knew we wanted to do this again this year and do it in a bigger way. And so we partnered with Ulta Beauty in the US, where we launched at Ulta Beauty in the wellness section in May of this year. And so in partnership with them, we identified 3 markets. So last week we had an event in Santa Monica, California. And the reception was incredible. I think women are loving hearing, from our experts. We had Sex with Emily there. She's a doctor in sex, and she is so empowering, encouraging. And she just gives a lot of really good tips for women that may feel like they're losing their libido a little bit. Their body is changing. What can you do? So that was awesome. And then we also had Kim Douglas, who is our chief menopositivity officer, and she's really a beauty and wellness expert as well. So she spoke about her own personal journey through breast cancer and why it's so important to use clean products on your body, especially, especially as you get older. She talked about the redefinition of beauty, and women were super inspired by that. So at each market, we have different speakers. So in a week and a half, we're in Dallas, and we have a sexual wellness doctor that's based in Dallas speaking. We also have another beauty expert, Dominique Sachet. She's very active on YouTube. Women love her tips. So those 2 are speaking along with Michelle and I. And then we're going to end the Menopositivity Tour in Chicago, which is where Ulta's based. So they have a really strong customer base there. And we have a fitness expert coming that we work with. And we have Dr. Somi Javed, who has a clinic across the US called HerMD. It's kind of a combination of OBGYN and MediSpa. So all these women are helping women in menopause, and, from various expertises. And I want to make sure I mention too, we have a sleep expert. Dr. Shelby Harris coming to the Chicago event as well. And she's super popular because she's written a book on sleep, and women struggle so much with sleep. So it's just a sampling of what we're doing.
And we've only really talked actually about the skincare side of Womaness, but you do a lot more than that.
A lot of other products. Yeah, we have supplements and we have sexual wellness. And our supplements really cover, the major symptoms of menopause. So we have one called menopause, which is all about kind of the all-around symptoms of menopause: night sweats, hot flashes, mood, brain fog. And that is really selling extremely well. Then we have a sleep supplement for obviously help staying asleep, because women really struggle with that kind of 3 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
wake up hour.
I was there this morning.
Excuse me. And then we have a hair, skin, and nail supplement, because obviously your skin and hair changes dramatically. And then we have sexual wellness. We have 2 vaginal moisturizers and a vibrator.
I love that you can buy a vibrator alongside your supplements. And
Right. Beauty and wellness are being redefined.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we could definitely all talk a lot more openly about some of those kind of the symptoms to do with sort of sex and libido, I think that would be a game changer for so many people. We talked before we went live about the event on World Menopause Day that you're going to, which I think is fantastic. So you've got sort of CEOs from a whole bunch of companies operating in this area coming together, and I think just the fact that everyone is being so open and collaborative is fantastic. So tell us a bit more about that.
We're so excited. So Stacey London, who owns the State of Menopause brand, is hosting all of us that are involved in the industry. So telehealth companies, product companies, we're all getting together. So in the spirit of collaboration versus competition, we're getting together for a panel, and we're covering, various topics, everything from changing the conversation about menopause and what will that take, to even, government regulations. I know the UK has been covering that very, very robustly.
Yeah.
And just all different topics. So there's a couple hours of just the panel, and it will be moderated by Tamsin
Oh,
Fadal,
great.
who's an incredible speaker. I met with her yesterday. She's a wealth of knowledge and super passionate about menopause. So that will be really fun and a great chance for us to meet with all of our peers. And I think it's just so fun to see what comes out of this. We really do all have the philosophy that all boats rise when we do collaborate. The industry is so needing leadership and disruption and awareness. So the more we can collaborate together to really build this groundswell, I think it will be better for all of us as well as the consumer.
What do you think, and maybe you can't give this away in terms of your kind of upcoming product, but what do you think is something that is kind of missing? What's the next frontier?
Yeah, I mean, there's some symptoms that we're definitely knowing we need to cover. For example, your bone health really changes during menopause, and I'm a perfect example of. I've been diagnosed with osteoporosis, so just knowing that there are natural ways to stop that progression. So we're coming out with a bone supplement in a few months. So that's an example of really something that's really important to us and a little bit more on the serious side. And then within skincare, we really feel like there's an opportunity to complete the regimen. Women have loved our skincare, and they keep asking, like, where's the cleanser, or where's this? And when we designed the line, we launched with 13 products, which was a lot. A lot of companies launch with, maybe 2 or 3, but we wanted to be really serious about menopause. And we didn't think we could address menopause in a legitimate way if we didn't have at least 10 to 13 products. And over time, we'll be adding more products, but we also want to make sure that our line doesn't become overwhelming, that each product has a real clear purpose, and that even within the skincare piece, it's really easy to use. Because I think about yourself and your listeners. You probably only use a handful of products every day.
Yeah.
You might have a lot more on your vanity, but at the end of the day, you really need a great daily moisturizer, a cleanser, a toner, maybe.
I want someone to make it
You
easy for me.
don't
Tell me
need
what to
maybe a
do.
serum. Right. Yeah. Make it easy. That's what we hear.
Yeah.
So that's what we're all about, is just streamlining the routine and making sure that we're filling back in the gaps that, we didn't launch with. So it's really important that we're kind of doubling down on those items that really help build out the regimen, but making it an easy regimen, nothing complicated, because women are overwhelmed anyway. I can speak for myself. We're all overwhelmed with all the choices out there, and menopause can be overwhelming. So let's just try to make it easy for everyone.
And we do have listeners all over, but for those in the UK, you're shipping to the UK?
So yes, Emma, we are shipping to the UK. We're not yet working with retailers in the UK because there's a lot of hurdles operationally and logistically that we have to put into place or overcome before we can actually start working directly with retailers in the UK or any other region. So it's obviously we're working with retailers in the US, but outside of the US requires a lot of other, like, registration, setting up warehouses and that kind of thing. So for now, have your listeners order us, order directly from womaness.com.
Well, you've been kind enough to offer them a 20% discount on their first order. So if you're listening to this for a limited period of time, if you go over to my Instagram, which is middlingalong_podcast, you'll find the discount details, how to get your 20% discount over there. So thank you. That's very generous.
We're excited.
So maybe wrap up with one more question. If you could pick one thing, what's the one thing that you wish you knew going into the perimenopause years?
I think I should have been more on top of my own health in my 30s and early 40s. For example, now that I've told your listeners that I have osteoporosis, had I started really taking care of my bone health in my 30s and early 40s, I think I wouldn't be in such a risky position that I am today. My mom is still alive. She has osteoporosis really badly.
Mm,
And she's now fallen twice and she's really having a tough time. And I can see the progression of what happens, right? If you don't get on top of this.
yeah.
So I think for me, that's just probably my most serious symptom. And had I really started taking care of my bones in my late 30s and early 40s and not waited as long, I think I'd be in a much better position. And that also, it's not just taking the right supplements, but it's also weight training. That
Yeah,
really,
I
really,
bore on about that to anyone who will listen.
yeah, that really helps. And I'm really bad about doing that. I practice Pilates and I play tennis, but I am not lifting weights. My co-founder is lifting a lot of weights, and she's a little bit younger than I am, but she's in much better shape. So it just, each person has an individual journey through menopause. So it's so important that you really get on top of it in your 30s even.
Yeah, I think it kind of ties into that whole point though about, as women, often we're pretty rubbish at prioritizing ourselves.
Absolutely.
We run around looking after everyone else,
Yeah.
and it's only when we get to this point where suddenly, for whatever reason, if we have some health issues going on, that we take stock and we start to really, hopefully, reprioritize ourselves and kind of invest that time and self-care. As I think we said before on the podcast, it's not necessarily about scented candles and having a long
Right.
bath. It's about having boundaries and
Right.
about putting in me time that to, as you say, really take care of
Right.
yourself, because if we don't, no one's going to come do it for us.
Yeah. And know yourself too. I know that I reach a point, I'm sure most women do, where you just have to be alone for a while. And
Yeah.
or you just lose it. So just even that is a boundary. It's just know when you have to reward yourself with maybe a 2-hour massage or something like that, because you just need to be alone and let go of the world around you for a minute.
Yeah, I actually, earlier this year, I just took myself away for 2
Oh,
days,
wow. Okay.
and I'd never done that before.
Yeah,
And it's like, this is
I
great. Why
know.
have I
I
not done
know.
this? Like, I
And
didn't go anywhere super
I know.
fancy,
And
but
women should feel that they have the permission to do that, especially at this stage. And even if they're not in this stage, like even if they're a millennial that has young children, I think it's still really healthy to do that. I'm sure
yeah,
our partners, wouldn't have a problem getting away for a couple of days. But women are such caretakers, and we feel like we need to be there and, take care of everyone. So,
go prioritize yourselves
right,
and
right.
book in some me time, whatever that looks like for you. Sally, thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
your time today. I'm really looking forward to seeing where Womaness goes next. Yeah, have a fabulous World
Oh,
Menopause
you
Day with
too.
all your fabulous colleagues. And yeah,
Happy
I'll
menopositivity. Well, thank you, Emma, and thank you to all our listeners.
You've been listening to the Middling Along podcast. Do remember to subscribe to be notified when our next episode is live. And why not visit the blog at www.middlingalong.com to sign up to my newsletter as well. I do hope you enjoyed listening today. If you did, I'd be really grateful if you would consider leaving a short review, as that helps people find the podcast and helps get it noticed. Hope you can join us next time. Goodbye for now.